Hey guys.
Hey, welcome to our first Sunday night CSM Live
Yeah.
as we make this shift from Tuesdays.
Yeah, we're excited. We've got a whole new group of students coming in
Yeah.
to middle school
Mm-hmm.
ministry, new students moving
Yep.
into high school ministry, and then our
Yeah.
graduated seniors. So
Yeah.
we're really excited about that.
Yeah, so welcome to the new middle schoolers. Grades are those that are coming in. This
Yeah,
is two
so
grade
new,
month, right? Yeah.
right. So we now have 6th through 8th grade that are in middle school ministry. So we have new 6th graders and 7th graders that are brand new into CSM.
Okay. And then welcome to the new ninth graders into high school ministry, and as well as another, I guess, kind of like a final congratulations to our graduating seniors as we got to celebrate and recognize you this morning, which I think it went really well. I thought it was pretty cool to do the drive around the circle procession and everything, and the honking, and the cars decorated, and the trucks decorated, and you got to see some South Carolina trucks and some Clemson trucks, and I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely a unique thing for a class that's had kind of a rough year.
Yeah.
And so something special to do for them. That was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, awesome. So we've got some new stuff that we're going to be doing moving into the summer, kind of changing things up. And so what is our weekly schedule going
Yeah,
look
so
like?
we're going to shift more into what our regular schedule looked like pre-corona and what it's going to look like once we're able to start meeting again on a more regular basis. So what we did on Tuesdays for the past few months, our Tuesday talks, which were followed up by Zoom meetings at 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. What we're going to do now is we're going to shift back to that normal schedule, almost to where now the Ascend portion that would normally take place at 6 p.m. on Sunday nights, that's what you're at right now. So that 6 p.m. on Sunday nights is the Ascend, but Pastor Scott and I are going to continue to do these videos together. So even Lift is going to be like this video, the live stream, 6 p.m. on Sunday nights, and then the Zoom calls are going to remain on Wednesday nights, but we're going to bump those up an hour each. So it's going to be at 6 p.m. for middle school and 7 p.m. for high school.
Yep. So that way we're not quite as late, and it's kind of getting back into that routine of meeting from 6 to 8 on Wednesday nights. Of course, middle school usually does our large group teaching time Lift on Wednesday nights, so it's kind of flip-flop for middle school. But it's the same times, same days of the week, even though what we're doing on those times is a little bit different than normal. But each week you'll be able to jump on the live stream, like right now if you're watching. You can watch at Sunday at 6 o'clock. Or if you're not able to for some reason, which we encourage you to because you can interact in the chat feature. If you're not able to for some reason, don't feel like you've missed it and it's gone forever. All of our talks are available for viewing afterwards. So go and check out those videos. You can still comment, but we may not see it live, and we're definitely not going to be able to talk back or anything like that.
So really from the time it airs at 6 p.m. on Sunday night, you have until Zoom call starts on Wednesday night to watch this. We try to keep them at about 20 to 25 minutes, so it shouldn't take up too much of your time. And tonight we're actually not going to start a new series.
Right.
You know, we had just finished up Written in Stone. We had talked about starting in Job. We're actually going to save Job for next Sunday, and we're going to start it. This week we actually want to talk about why it's important for you to stay involved, to stay connected, and not just this summer, but to make it really a habit and like a discipline in your life on why it's important to be a member and an active member and a participant in middle school ministry and student ministry and really the life of the church as a whole.
Yep. So we took some of these principles from an article that I found online. I'll post a link along with it so you guys can look at it. But there's 5 principles that we think kind of really emphasize why it's important to be involved in a student ministry. So the first one is students need models and mentors.
Yes.
Students need models and mentors. What are we talking about there?
Yeah, so we need people that we can identify as spiritual leaders and spiritual mentors in our life, that when we're struggling with something or we just have a question, or it doesn't even have to be something super spiritual, but something you might just need advice on. If you have one of those times come up in your life and you're like, I know who I need to call, that's who we're talking about. If you don't have that person in your life that can be that spiritual mentor for you, that can provide you with biblical advice, that can provide you with the type of guidance that you're looking for, that is going to be rooted in God's word, then we're missing out on something that is essential to our growth. I remember reading this study, I think it was a few years ago, I'm not 100% sure, when 1 or 2 years ago maybe. And I know for the generation now that's in student ministry and that just recently graduated, Generation Z, there is a 60% likelihood. So at a 60% rate, once they graduate high school, they are no longer connected to the church. So it's 66%, which was actually a small decrease from my generation. My generation was 72%. So I don't know if it's that I think maybe the church as in general could be shrinking and it's just what's remaining is stronger, or if your generation just like actually is just hanging on tighter and doing better and leadership might be leading differently. But at a 66% rate, Generation Z is disconnecting from the church once they leave their home. The importance of these mentors is if you can identify 3 spiritual mentors in your life, it is 3 times more likely that you are going to stay connected to the church once you leave than if you don't have them.
Wow.
So if you have 3 spiritual mentors that you know in your mind that if there's something that comes up, I need to call this person, I want this person for advice, this is somebody I know that's going to guide me with scriptural wisdom. If you have 3 spiritual adult mentors, you are 3 times more likely to stay connected to the church. And one of the things that we do is with the leaders at Lift, the leaders at Ascend, the Journey Group leaders, is we're giving you the opportunity to develop the relationship with those mentors and with those models.
That's right. All of our leaders are people that we trust to be able to guide you and give you some wisdom, because the pastors only have so much bandwidth to be able to have those conversations. And so not to mention you may click better with some people. I know Mr. Burton, Miss Julie, some of our high school journey group leaders have been super influential in some of our junior and senior lives, and they just have different personalities than I do or than you do, or so finding those people that you can really connect with and then letting them pour into your life and seeking them out in those times where you need some wisdom or encouragement, it can be like completely changing, just like Austin was saying.
Yeah, and for students, one thing we want you to know, even for parents, and if you are a parent who's potentially thinking about leading or you might have an interest in it, but specifically for the students, we want you guys to know that we take the people that we place in positions of leadership of your spiritual development and your discipleship very seriously. So we obviously go through the certain security backgrounds and checks and safety checks and things like that, but more than that, we want you to know that we're not just looking for chaperones to babysit you while you're here. Like, we don't want people who are just going to keep you from fighting, who are going to keep you from throwing stuff and breaking things. Like that's not what we want. Obviously, we don't want you to do those things, but we're not looking for people that can just babysit you and keep you from doing things like that. We are looking for people that are committed to investing in you spiritually. So if you are a part of the student ministry at Cornerstone, you can be assured and you can be confident that the adult volunteers who are there with your spiritual maturity and your development and your discipleship as their primary reason for being involved.
That's right. Secondly, students need mission, and this is one of the things that we see anytime that you are joining up with a group or a team. You have some kind of a purpose or a goal that you are going after. So if you're going onto a softball team, you have the goal of we are going to win as many games as possible, or we're going to go out and win tournaments, we're going to strive to become better. If you join up, I know we've had some students in like academic challenge teams and stuff like that. You're going to try to learn as much information as possible and work together to show those skills. Anytime that you join up, you have a goal and a purpose. And our goal and purpose is very simple. We're trying to help students to come alongside and join up with God's mission to reclaim worshipers.
Absolutely. Yeah. So our mission is to create disciples. Like, we want to expand the kingdom. We want to make disciples. We want to grow you up into spiritual maturity. And this is one of the reasons why we want to kind of emphasize this involvement with church and with students. with the student ministry in general. I know a lot of people can think like I go to church on Sunday mornings, I don't really need to be involved in student ministry, or I do this at school, I don't need to be involved in student ministry. There's a special kind of emphasis that God gives, and a special responsibility that God gives the local church, and the church is the bride of Christ. Like Christ loves the church, and so our involvement and kind of what me and Scott want to do is we're not coming at you with this right now because we want to just grow numbers and we want to build attenders, because the reality is like it is not our desire to just make a bunch of church attenders. Like I know that's not mine.
Yeah.
And I know Scott well enough that I'm pretty sure it's not his.
Right.
Like we don't want to just build church attenders. But the reason that we want involvement in the church is because our desire is to make disciples. And one of the ways that we can kind of measure that discipleship is people who are growing in their love for Christ are going to grow deeper in their connectedness to the church. You cannot grow in your spiritual maturity and your discipleship with Christ without growing more in your affection for the local body that He has given you to care for you.
Yep. So we do this a lot in learning the mission, as we've talked about previously, and how we study the Bible, so that we can know how God wants us to live, but then also by giving opportunities to go out and actually live it out.
Yeah.
So we're going to challenge you in our times of teaching in ways that you can apply God's word in your life and then go out and live it throughout the week. So don't just take those as like Pastor Scott and Austin are just wrapping up their message. No, we want you to actually take that, maybe write it down, put it somewhere you're going to see it, because if we see it, we're a lot more likely to actually do something.
Absolutely.
So put that somewhere you can see and then go out and do it. And we also offer a lot of opportunities to serve. So whether that's partnering with OM Ships or a local community service, whether it's going on a domestic mission trip or even an international mission trip, we give opportunities within the student ministry for our students to join up together for a purpose, to go and help build this or serve these people or whatever it is. So we do that in community together, and we don't want that to be the only time that we really come together. So being involved regularly, it's like if you are on a softball team, you don't just show up for the game and the tournament. You got to practice together. You got to know, all right, if I pick up this grounder, I turn and I fire, that first baseman's going to be there and he's going to catch it. And, you got to run those plays. You got to work together. You got to get to know each other. And there's a camaraderie that builds and unity, like we talked about this morning. That's so important. So be committed to regularly being involved, not just sporadically, not just coming to a fun event or something like that, but really coming to grow yourself and to invest in others along the way.
Yeah, because along those same lines is, I know there's been a lot of talk lately about what things are essential and what can open because they need to be essential. And so when I say essential, I'm not talking about coronavirus essential. I'm talking about essential for our lives. Like, what is essential? One of the reasons, as I mentioned earlier, that 66% dropout rate that we saw that of high schoolers, once they graduate high school and they leave for college, 66% dropout. It's because for their entire career in student ministry, that 6th to 12th grade, however long the student ministry ran in that particular church, they would look at church as something optional. So they're involved in it, they go to it, they might go once or twice a week, they were active. Active really just means going, I think, twice a month. So if you're going twice a month, you're considered active. And when you graduate from that, when you go to college, you basically graduate from student ministry and from church just like you graduated from everything else. So just like you graduated from that softball team or from that soccer team or from high school band or from the academic club, you graduated from church as well. Those were things you were involved in during one season of your life, but then once you graduated, you moved on to something else because those were optional. But what we want to do is we want you to see the essential, what's the word I'm looking for?
Critical,
vital. The criticalness and how essential this is to your life as a follower of Christ. Just as Pastor Bill mentioned this morning, when you grow, when you graduate and you go to college. God's not going to pour water on your face on Sunday morning to make you get up and go to church. He's not going to open your Bible and read it to you. These are things that you have to do on your own, and to develop those disciplines in your life to grow in your relationship with Him. So as you are a student and you have parents who are bringing you to church, take advantage of that, but also tell them that, like, you want to go to these things, you need to be at these things, because eventually when you graduate and you're gone, if something was just optional to you in your life and it's no longer there, you don't miss it too much. Like, you can do life without it.
Right.
But if something is essential, if I don't have something that is essential to me for even just a short period of time, I'm going to feel it. And so we want to do what we want to do with you over these next few years, however long you're in student ministry under our leadership, is we want to build into you not only just a desire, but a mind and a heart that says, this is essential to my life. This is essential to my growth and development of my discipleship as a follower of Christ.
Yep. The third thing for us is we recognize students need theology. So when we talk about theology, this is the study of God. And I say students need theology because at the core of who we are has this idea of, like, who am I? Why am I here? Like, these critical questions, and they're completely influenced by what your view is of who God is.
Yeah.
So if you believe there isn't a God, or you believe that there are many gods, or that you believe there's a God maybe, but he doesn't really care about what's going on earth or anything like that, that totally changes your worldview and your perspective. So when you watch the news, or when you hear somebody talking about something, send you a text or anything like that, you have a lens that you are viewing the world through, and it's completely affected by what you believe about God.
Yep. I think it was A.W. Tozer who said, what you believe about God is the most important thing about you, because it determines the trajectory of your life.
Yep.
Not word for word, but what you believe about God is the most important, because that's going to determine everything that you do. And like you said, that theology is that study of God, is thinking about God. Whether you realize it or not, R.C. Sproul wrote a book called Everybody's a Theologian. Like, that's the truth.
That's right.
Everybody is a theologian. Everybody has an idea or a concept of what they believe about God. And whatever you believe that is, like, that's what you're going to follow, that's what you're going to serve, that's what you're going to set your affections on. And so we need theology in the church so that we can set our affections on the one true God.
That's right. And how do you get to know someone? You get to know them by studying them, by being intentional in relating to them, by opening up yourself to them, seeing how that person lives and acts. And this is the same way that we see who God is we get to relate with Him. We open ourselves up to Him through prayer, through worship. We express our affection to Him. We get to learn about how He has acted and who He says we are. And those kinds of things help to shape the way that we go through life. And so we know that students are getting to the points in their life where they're interacting with challenging questions, they're interacting with differing worldviews, and so we want to equip you to be able to come to those not with some kind of a combative, super defensive mentality, but rather so that you can understand that you stand firm on solid understanding, that it's not just some flying spaghetti monster.
It's not one of many options.
Made up. This is something that is tried and true, and that yes, there is a faith element. It is not blind faith, though. It is informed faith.
Absolutely.
And so that is part of how we're going to approach our teaching for you in Cornerstone Student Ministry.
And then the next one is students need community. We want our students to have a place that they can belong, a place they can fit in, a place where their relationships are going to be. I know as a parent, Easton's only 8, but one of my biggest desires is that his closest friends are his friends at church. Like, I want the people who are closest to him, I want him to have friends who are unsaved. I want him to be very intentional about having friends that are unsaved, and I hope to guide him in that. But at the same time, I want his closest relationship to be with other people who are also followers of Christ. I want him to have a place he can fit in, and that's exactly what we want for you. We want you to develop a deep and loving relationships with other people that are here who are pursuing Jesus as well, and you guys can encourage one another in your walk, not only in accountability, but in that encouragement and that kind of spurring one another on into a deeper relationship with Christ.
Yeah. It's commonly said that the 5 people you spend the most time with are, you will become the average of
Yes.
them. And so making sure you're spending time with other people that are going in the same direction, following the Lord with their lives, is extremely important. So where else is better than in a community called church, where we're doing that? So we highly encourage you to do this. We have events throughout the year that kind of are meant for us to build relationships. So when we do a Nerf war and when we go to the trampoline park or something like that, it's not just a fun thing. It's not meant for you to go over in the corner, do your own thing, spend 2 hours, and then you're done. It's for you to actually be able to get to know other people and see, oh, this person likes that same thing I do, and oh, this person goes to the same school or something like that. And that's how you build those relationships so that you have people that you can be encouraging and kind of keeping accountable, but that can also do that for you too.
Absolutely. Yeah, so when we do these fun events, like when we do Nerf Wars, when we do Defy, guess what? We're not jumping on Christian trampolines. We're not playing Christian Nerf Wars. What we're doing is we're having a fun event for you to build relationships. Like, that is the focus of those. Of course, we want to honor Christ in all that we do, but we do these events for the sole purpose of having fun and giving you an opportunity and an environment to build relationship with your peers.
The final thing that I want to touch on tonight is students need a safe place to confess and confide. Now, this one is not quite so much fun, but this is the kind of thing that the Bible talks about having in community, of people that you can trust with information in your life, that you can go to, when we have a time where we're praying together, it's not your time to gossip about people, and it's not a time for people to take what you say there and go and gossip about you. It is a time for us to genuinely pray for one another and keep that there. Now, we have guidelines for all of our leaders and for our pastors about if there are things that are mandatory for us to report to the police. So if someone's going to hurt themselves, going to hurt someone else, is in danger somehow, or is in something illegal, there's actions we have to take. But other than that, and even with that, what I would encourage you to do is to trust your leaders. Okay, they are not going to promise you they're going to keep everything to themselves, because that's not in your best interest. But what we do want is for our students to keep those things inside the group. Okay, students are not to take that out and to be sharing that around or anything like that. When you come to a journey group especially, it is a place for you to have close connections with others, to be able to build each other up in a spiritual conversation, and to encourage each other through really tough things that we struggle with, and places where we need someone maybe to even be able to vent a little bit about, man, I'm having a really hard time in my life. Student ministry is the place for you to do that, and for other people to direct you back to the Lord in those times.
And when you think about it, when we have these tough situations and things that just circumstances that go on in our lives, there's not a whole lot of community that the world is just naturally trying to create to give you an opportunity to just build relationships, to give you mentors, to give you models, to care for you spiritually, really like your holistic health, like the church is doing, like the church is commanded to do, like God has designed the church to do for you. So one of the reasons why we want to kind of talk about that consistent attendance in those journey groups is for this very specific reason, that ability to confess and confide and trust. If you're sporadic, or you come once every couple months, or somebody new's coming in every other month, it's hard to build relationships without that consistent presence with one another. I know when we first started our journey group here, when we got here last fall, the first few weeks, even few months, like the depth of conversation would only go so far. But we've been in the same journey group now for about a year. We've developed deep relationships. We just had dinner at a couple's house from our journey group last week. Like these relationships and these friendships are starting to run deep and have gotten past just, oh, how are you? Good, me too. All right, see you next week. And that's all you're gonna get though if you're not consistent in your relationship with being around other people. But as you grow deeper in your relationship, your conversation is going to grow deeper. Your trust with one another is going to grow deeper. And you're going to be willing to share more that you weren't willing to share earlier in the year. And as you're willing to share and that trust grows, that relationship grows, and your relationship with Christ and everyone in that group is going to grow.
Yeah. You have the opportunity through the student ministry to really see the principle of getting out of something what you put into it.
Exactly.
So, if you're exercising, you get out of it what you put into it. If you're trying to learn, you get out of it what you put into it. If you only put in a little bit of time, a little bit of effort, you're really distracted the whole time, you're not pushing yourself, you're not going to see huge growth in your life. But if you're willing to consistently come in, be intentional, pay attention, open up with others, you are going to have the opportunity to see amazing growth in your life spiritually, to the point where God may be working in you in ways that you didn't even realize, man, that God wants to use me to go out and be a missionary here, be a pastor one day, serve as a leader to other students. You may not even recognize those things on your radar right now, but as you grow in your walk with the Lord, He's going to open up your eyes to see part of who He's growing you to become.
Yep. Yeah, I've been in high school ministry for about 6 years now. So I've seen a lot of the patterns and the type of obviously varying commitment levels with large student groups and types of students. And it's this, what I've been able to see, just obviously from leadership and experience, is the students who are only connected on the fringe, they're the ones who think, you know what, student ministry, it's stupid, it's pointless, it's a waste of time, and I'm not getting anything out of it. And the reason that you don't get anything out of it is because you're only connected on the fringe. You're told to go, you don't put in any effort in establishing relationships. You don't try to integrate yourself or meet anybody. And so on the flip side of that, the students who are committed, who want to be there, who desire to grow in relationships with people, these are the students, and these are people who not only grow in their relationship with their friends, grow deeper in their relationship with Christ, but for those of you that describes you, those students that are on the fringe, they may want to be deeper in relationship with you. They may want to be more committed. They may want to start coming more, but it's hard if they're constantly staying on the fringe. So for the fringe students, we want to encourage you to do what you can to be more committed and to make efforts to develop those relationships. And for the students who are committed, like you're part of the core, you're here all the time, you know a lot of people here that are coming here, we want you to recognize those fringe students who may be sitting off to the side on their own, who go to the corner, who just go stand against the wall and stare at their phone. Come invite them to be a part of your group. We want to be a place that everybody can belong and everybody can grow together.
Absolutely. So this is a couple of other things to just kind of wrap up. When we do our teaching times, I want to encourage you to have a Bible with you available. Have a Bible that you can read. We give all of our new 6th graders now, it used to be 7th graders, so our current new 6th and 7th graders are just going to be getting a new ESV Student Study Bible.
Cool.
It's
awesome.
It's really great, has all kinds of helpful things in it about different key people in the Bible, how to understand things. It's got great understanding of footnotes, but it's readable. It's something that isn't like, oh, I'm have to learn how to read Greek to understand this. It's very easy to understand, but it's also challenging in that, man, it's basically what the original manuscripts say, just translated into English for you. So it's a great resource. If you don't have a Bible that you can easily read, please let us know so we can get one
Yes.
to you. We would love to do that. That's part of our church's commitment to you. Since we're asking you to be committed to the church, we're committed to you as
Absolutely.
well. So if you need those kinds of tools to be able to study along with us, let us know and we will definitely equip you with that. Also encourage you to have maybe a highlighter or a pen that you can underline something, depending on how you like to do those kinds of things, so that you can re-emphasize, oh, there's that key word again in this passage. Because a lot of times you'll see that. Or we'll be talking about, hey, look what Jesus says throughout this passage to this person. We want you to be able to see that, and then 2 years from now go back and go, oh, I remember this. So that's extremely helpful. And then maybe have some kind of a little notebook that you can jot down, maybe the outline, maybe a thought that was just like, hey, if I summarize all of what I learned tonight, here it is in a statement. So come with some of those things prepared, just like you would for anything. Remember, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. So come in prepared, ready to go, geared up. Come in prayed up. I mean, be ready. Say, Lord, tonight I want to learn something more about who you are and how I can relate with you in my life. So be fully here. If there's anything we can do to help you along the way, please reach out to us so that we can do that.
Yeah, and then to follow along with what he said, if as you watch these videos on Sunday nights and we're going through our message and the Word, and when we get back to be able to meet in person, and if I teach on Sunday nights and Scott on Wednesday nights, when you get to Journey Group following that sermon, if there was something that wasn't clear, write a question down, like write that down in the middle of that message and bring that up at that Journey Group. Bring it up to me, bring it up to your leaders. If it's throughout the summer and we're still meeting on Zoom, bring it up then. Send it to us in a message if you don't want to ask in person or in public and let other people know. But whatever, like, that's what those are for. The Journey Groups are to develop a system and an environment where you can grow in relationships, but also to bring clarity to the Word of God and to make it an actual part of your life to where you can apply it. And if you don't understand it, you can't apply it. So we want to be able to make that as clear to you as possible.
What's amazing is, this is that last thing, confessing and confiding and saying, hey guys, so I didn't understand this. I had a question about, or that made me think about this. What's going on there? What so often happens,
everybody,
is you finally speak up because you have the courage, and then 4 other people say,
thank you.
I had the same thing. I forgot about that. Yeah, I was thinking about that
I had
too.
the same thing, but I didn't want to ask, so thanks for asking.
Yes. Yeah. So please, have the boldness. We're not going to point and laugh or something like that. Have the boldness to ask your question. And a lot of times you forget your question, so that's another great thing for that little journal or notepad to be, is write down, I didn't understand what he said there, or what was that cross-reference that he used, or who is Abram? I've never heard of him before. Oh, well, that's Abraham before his name is changed. Oh, so ask questions, because the Bible's, it's a simple book, but it's also complex. And so there's a lot of different things that influence what's going on in the New Testament from thousands of years in the Old Testament. So ask questions. If your Journey Group leaders don't know, if your friends don't know, pass it on up. We don't pretend to be the knowledge.
I'll ask Pastor Bill.
But we will go on that journey together, because that's part of what we're able to do, so that we can all grow. So please do that. Please be involved this summer throughout, as there's great opportunity. You don't have to engage in school during the summer, so be engaged in growing in your spiritual walk.
So again, thank you guys for joining us. Starting next Sunday, we're going to start a 4-week series in Job. And again, remember, Zoom calls this week have shifted up 1 hour. So middle school, 6th through 8th grade, you are at 7 p.m. 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Middle school, you are at 6 p.m. High school, we are at 7 p.m. now.
All right. Well, that's great. Thanks. We'll see you on Wednesday night.
All right. See you guys.